Hello everyone, this is SK, and today we are going to be continuing the secrets that are hidden inside of the Ringed City DLC. We previously covered the first area, which is the Dreg Heap, and now we are moving on to the second area, which is obviously the Ringed City itself, and it has many secrets. So let us begin. So the first and most prominent secret we have is that when you reach the Ringed City Streets bonfire, where when you open the shortcut from the other side, you will find a very ambiguous message saying show your humanity. Now I have spent more than 12 fucking hours trying to solve this puzzle, and I was finally able to find what it means. In the swamp you will find some young white branch items that change your appearance to something that matches your surrounding, just like the chameleon spell, but the trick here is that you have to use it inside of the actual swamp to transform into a humanity phantom and walk to where the engraving is, and a ladder is going to drop down for you, opening up a new section which is very important for one of the new NPC questlines. Now you are probably thinking, how in the hell did I find this? Well, if you use the Sea Guidance miracle near the engraving, it will reveal a secret developer message that reads, if only I had a mimicry. And that's when I knew it had something to do with transforming, but I kept transforming inside of the room for hours, which failed miserably as it doesn't transform you into the humanity thing if you aren't in the swamp. Very cool yet somewhat tricky puzzle. Next we have is the Lightning Bow spell. This spell is very well hidden as people won't expect its location because they did some kind of trick with hiding it. When you progress more in the DLC, you will reach this room full of Silver Knight statues, and if you focus well you can hear an enemy sound, and this enemy is actually hiding behind an illusory wall. But after this illusory wall there is another illusory wall which has a soul. And even after that there is yet another illusory wall which contains the spell. So we have some nice illusory wall inception thing going on over here. Next is also very close to this area, which is an item you see in the hands of the statue of the Great Lord Gwyn. Now there is an elevator in this area which takes you back to the bonfire, but midway there is an open side to the elevator, and you have to walk out of the elevator and go right and then drop down, and you will earn the Chloranthy Ring +3. Next is something that also took some time for me to understand, but this time because I screwed up my vocabulary. Once you knock down the dragon on the bridge, Shira will tell you to descend to the chasm and kill Midir the dragon. She tells you of a secret room that honors the knights, and that the knight without arms has a secret shrine behind it which leads to the chasm. So I began my search for a knight without arms, and I didn't find anything until I understood that by arms she meant sword and not literal arms. And this statue can be found in the secret elevator path where you got the Chloranthy Ring +3, but instead it's on the opposite side, and once you drop down the ladder you will find this area open if you have knocked down the dragon. If you didn't, it will be closed by a mist and you can't access it. Next is a very mysterious character that you encounter in the DLC, which tells you about some of the people and their involvement with Dark. And we do know these characters ourselves, the first being Alva, the Seeker of the Spurned.
One was a wayfaring knight on an endless, forbidden search. Only the abyss granted closure, if not reunion with his beloved.
This one is Cirrus of the Sunless Realm.
One poor girl slew her own kin, but even so was embraced, enveloped by the abyss. 'Twas a comfort that neither moon nor sunless sky afforded her before.
Now this one is kind of ambiguous.
And so, despite his weighty armor, he lived in fear of a delicate thing, little more than a girl. Where fire resideth, shadows twist and shrivel, but in the abyss there are shadows none.
I think here he is talking about Vendrick and his fear of Nashandra of the Dark, but it can also mean it is Aegon of Karim because he actually invades you in this DLC, and we'll talk about him later on.
One met the dark with learning, but in the end learned his knowledge was wanting. The world began without knowledge, and without knowledge will it end. Does not this ring clear and true?
This one, I think he might be talking about Aldia or any of the sorcerers that we encounter in the series, or it could be Manus, as from the white birch bow description we learned that this bow is a relic from the land of an old sorcerer who was swallowed by the Abyss and known for his role in the heroic fate of the Abyss Walker, which I believe here he is talking about Manus because he uses a catalyst, and I think he was an old sorcerer as it mentions. Now what's most interesting is the name of these NPCs. In the credits they are mentioned as white-faced locusts, but in the code their name is Abaddon, which fits perfectly with these NPCs. Now Abaddon in the Bible is described as a destroyer, the angel of the abyss, and the king of a plague of locusts resembling horses with crowned human faces, women's hair, lion's teeth, wings, iron breastplates, and a tail with a scorpion's stinger that torments for 5 months anyone who does not have the seal of God on their foreheads. So tell me what you think of the role of these characters in the Ringed City in the comments. Next is the altar of the Church Guardians. Now, much like every covenant, you offer a certain amount of an item that you can earn while playing with the covenant to level it up. To level up this covenant, you have to earn Fillion spear ornaments. When you offer 10 ornaments, you get the Young Grass Dew. When you offer 30 ornaments in total, you get the Divine Spear Fragment, which is an improved version of the Ritual Spear Fragment found just next to the altar. Next are the references of Dark Souls 2's lore. We already know that in the Dreadheap, the Earthen Peak was a reference to Dark Souls 2. But as soon as you enter the Ringed City, you will find their armor set which we all are familiar with, which is the Ruin set. And from its description we can know that the original Ruin Knights were actually sent to the Ringed City to find the Dark Soul, but they are now being controlled by the Judicator Giant. Now it was probably Elvis, the king of Olafis, who sent these knights as he grew paranoid with the entire Hollow Curse fiasco and perhaps thought that the Dark Soul would fix this. We can also find the Black Witch set, which belonged to Zully the Witch, and when you get near this set, Alva, the Seeker of the Spurned, invades you and he drops the Wolf Ring +3. Now why he drops it I really don't know, but maybe it's just because his set looked very similar to Artorias' set back in Dark Souls 2, I don't know. And speaking of invaders, we have the Moaning Knight, which is Aegon of Karim. Now, I really don't understand why he is in the DLC, but what's interesting is that he drops the Blindfold Mask, or the Black Witch Domino Mask as named in Dark Souls 2. Now, the description of it kind of gives a very nice implication that this mask is actually designed after the look of the Firekeeper's mask. Perhaps he went to the Ringed City to bring this mask and thought it might help Irina to become a Firekeeper and a better cleric. Or they just didn't want to give us the actual Firekeeper mask, even though it is inside the files and can be worn, but you have to use mods to be able to do so. And speaking of the Firekeeper mask, it brings us to Fillion. If you look closely, the crown she is wearing hugely resembles the Firekeeper's mask, albeit it seems it is more simple looking. But what is more interesting is that if you notice, her eyes are kind of corrupted, and I think we can say that she is blind. But who is also blind and linked with blindness greatly with their lore? The Firekeepers. So could it be that Fillion, who is supposedly Gwyn's daughter, be the first Firekeeper? It is a very interesting thing to see. And the final thing is kind of an informational thing about the unused content, and specifically the white birch bow that you find in the swamp. This bow, before the DLC was released, was actually inside of the files but with a different name and description. Originally it was the Dancer's Short Bow, which is a bow born from the soul of the Dancer of the Frigid Valley, and it is created from tough Frigid Valley alloy. Now this isn't the only thing that they reused, as Lap's armor set was the Heavy Knight set, which was also in the files before the initial release of the DLC. Now there are still many weapons and armors that they left over, and some of these are super neat. I have a full playlist showcasing the unused content of the game, so make sure you check out that playlist as well. So I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you like and subscribe for this channel, and I'm going to be taking a look at some of the unused content that they added in this DLC, because they did add some unused content in the first DLCs, so I'm sure they are going to be doing the same in this DLC. Also make sure you go and watch the first part of this video, which is Secrets in the Dreadheap. There are many lore implications and hidden stuff even in the icons of the things that you take, which is very interesting. So I hope you guys enjoy the DLC yourselves because it's one hell of an amazing DLC, and I'll be seeing you on the next video. Bye bye.